Hey, what's up, everyone? Are you thinking about getting into Zwift Racing? New to it, you've been on the platform for a while and just like haven't cracked into it just yet? Me too. So I'm going to go over my venture into racing and how I got started. Spoiler alert, I'm starting today. I've actually been training pretty decently over the last few months. I've ridden like a local century and just been getting more into road and endurance cycling. As you can see behind me, I'm actually been more of a mountain biker, and I've found that a lot of the climbing and endurance from that has kind of paid off, and a lot of it translates into road and kind of gravel cycling, which I've been into a lot lately too. But I've been on the Zwift game for a while with a Wahoo smart trainer, and I would just kind of get rides in here and there, and that was about it. And I would just kind of like do some Zone 2 stuff. But I really started training and pushing up my FTP, and yeah, now that sits around like 245 ish, and yeah, so I'm just kind of getting started here. I think I'm excited to get into the races. I've heard some good things. They look really fun, and I think it's kind of a fun way to work out. I get pretty competitive, just in when I'm in a workout mode in Zwift and there's others around, it's kind of fun to get into it. So the race I think is just for me, and I've been checking other content creators on YouTube, and it looks like a blast. So we're gonna get started today. I'm gonna go over a little bit of my setup, and if you're new to Zwift racing and you're thinking about getting into Zwift in general, you don't have to go all in right off the bat. I've kind of gradually upgraded my setup, as you can see in my little pain cave garage here, but talk about that briefly, and then we'll get into my first race and see how it goes. Here's a quick overview of my setup. Running the Wahoo Kickr Core, I believe V3. I've had it for a few years now. Swapping bikes in and out, super easy. I'll actually be installing the Zwift Cog here pretty soon, which will be nice for swapping other bikes in and out. It wasn't out when I bought the Kickr, but it is now. Super awesome. Having some sort of stable table is really nice. And also fans. Multiple, if you can, is ideal. Second screen is also cool if you're able to swing it. Sometimes if it's just a laptop and a phone or anything you can run Companion with is really nice, the Companion app. So for the cockpit, pretty basic. I do run the Zwift controllers, which are recently on sale, so I picked those up to enhance my experience. Having a towel available is great. I do have like a sweat catcher so that, corrosive sweat does not bleed down into bike components. Pretty basic setup. Obviously you want your average heart rate monitor, your bib, some sort of chamois cream, and you're ready to rock. All right, so as this race is starting, I want to preface that based on my watts per kilo and FTP, I guess however they determine this is my first race. So some races I tried to sign up for, I was only able to do C, some I was only able to do D. I think I'm right in between. Maybe it's because it's my first race. So for this one, I just decided to sign up for D. I'm like, well, I'm not going to smurf it that hard, right? It's my first race. But, right off the bat here, we see someone just like pumping serious watts on the lead in. So I try and stay on his wheel and just kind of feel it out. I'm definitely pushing a little more power than I wanted to right off the bat. And as you can see, it's like I'm already 5, 6, 7 seconds ahead of people. But I kind of slow it down. He kind of slows it down. Spoiler, this guy, I don't know, kind of drops off the front group pretty quickly. And yeah, I really just want to hang in the front group here, right? It's the lead in. I want, I feel like I probably should be racing in the C category based on where Zwift wants to put me. So yeah, one thing to consider as you're starting racing, some of these races will want you to sign up for Zwift Powr, and it's like a third-party site that integrates with your Zwift data, and I think that's pretty cool. It probably allows for better tracking for some of the more serious races. This one I just kind of found and signed up for. But yeah, so at this point, I'm just kind of sticking in the front of the group. My heart rate is on the tippy top of zone 2, entering zone 3. So I'm kind of just like feeling everything out here. And we see Peterson blast away. So this is, the beginning of the lead group, right? And so I'm just trying to feel out how much I want to put down in the beginning. I'm looking at the top right of the screen for the actual race course, right? And where the climbs are. And I'm already eyeing the end portion and seeing what the final sprint's going to look like, right? It's only 6 laps. So we're still in the lead in. So I'm going to go ahead and push ahead a little bit here. So at this point, we are at lap 2 of 6. Honestly, by like yeah, by the end of lap one, you could clearly see the top four of the front group here. It's myself and three others, and then everyone else is about 20 something seconds behind, and that gap only gets bigger. So, something with this race, again, this is a Cat D race, and I was able to get in. So, something tells me that maybe the leeway on the Cat CD difference on this specific race, or some races may have a different gap. I'm not totally sure. So if anyone knows, drop it in the comments on, maybe some races have different gaps in how they determine, the categories for racers. So at this point, it's really just feeling out how these other riders are approaching these little mini climbs. And there's, a couple decent punchy climbs that lead into slight negative grades to kind of recover on and get your heart rate down. And so I'm just still kind of looking at the map and seeing how I want to strategize for the final push. And at this point, again, it's just this pocket of 4, and we're just like juggling the drafting. We're just kind of, seeing how the others are, approaching the climbs. And, it's still pretty early in the race. We've really determined that this is the top 4 group by a pretty wide margin. So for the most part, we stick together and feel out the next few laps. All right, so to lap 5 here, entering this final punchy climb. I know for myself, I'm feeling out how my legs are doing and thinking about where exactly I want to plan my final sprint unless someone makes a move. And no one really is making too big of a move on these last efforts here. Maybe 1 or 2 second gap with our 4-pack is really all we get. And you can tell here, everyone, we're about 1 to 4 minutes ahead of everyone else in the race. And at this point, I'm thinking, obviously I'll probably try Cat C for the next race. And I know that Zwift does use a racing score now, which is like a way to determine, outside of just, Cat A, B, C, and D. I'll be learning, obviously, more about that as I go. But at this point, again, looking here, I'm just trying to rest where I can. My heart rate is, at this point in the race, getting a little bit higher than I want it to be for the wattage I'm pushing. But I think that going into the last lap, I'm just trying to, save legs for the final push. Let's get there. Okay, and here we have the final portion of lap 6. Half a mile left. I do realize that I should probably change to metric system here to kind of match with everything else and what everyone else uses. But hey, you know what? We're going to run it here. I got 0.4 miles left to trigger everyone here. And Peterson is punting ahead a little bit. And at this point, I'm ready to, when I see that blue, I believe is when I start pushing. You'll have to forgive me. My camera, I guess, maybe overheated or something happened to where it stopped recording, and so you're gonna not see me in the final sprint sweating profusely. But here we are, and I'm kind of waiting for Peterson to make a move here. We're at the 0.3 miles left, so I believe around here I'm already actually getting a little bit of a gap on the other two, and Peterson's pushing, and at this point I'm waiting for him to make a move. And I think I remember seeing this blue on the map here as the place where I wanted to make a move. Let's see where exactly I start. Okay, yeah, we're less than 1,000 feet left. I believe right around this sprint section is when I let it rip right on the sprint. Peterson sees it, matches it, and we enter the final sprint here. I hold the lead for a second, and my legs, wow, he slams into I think he was at 11 watts per kg. I think we both pushed really hard here, and boom. Hey, second place for my first event. I believe it ends up being 0.36 seconds behind the winner. And then you can see the gap form here between 3 and 4. I believe it ends up being 12, 13, 14 seconds. So not too shabby for the first race. I'll take that. Hitting the podium there, 15 and 16 seconds respectively. Pretty fun race. And overall, just a super fun experience. So we have one last note here to discuss. A comment from one of the racers saying, way to hit 3.2 watts per kilo and sign up for D. Yeah, I'm curious what the sign up range was for this. Again, I'm usually, as I started scouting out races for my first, I was usually in C. This race did let me sign up for D, and I I felt kind of bad. I ended up, making a comment saying it's my first race. Some put me in C, some put me in D. I don't know. I just wanted to try it out. I didn't have an intention of smurfing anyone. So yeah, I ended up finishing my first race, which is super cool. Second place, super proud. And yeah, looking at the stats from the race on Zwift Powr, I'm like super stoked with my outcome and really excited to go from here. All right, post race, I have eaten and showered, and I'm here editing some of the clips. And yeah, thanks for coming on the journey of my first race. If you are contemplating it, just get in there and give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. I'll definitely be punting up to Cat C moving forward. I think I probably won't sniff a top 10 anytime real soon, but I think that will be more motivation to continue training and doing other workouts. So give it a run. I do think that my setup is, pretty mid-tier. I do feel I've got it, dialed in for what I need. If you have any comments or feedback on my setup, let me know, or maybe any recommendations or any questions, like happy to answer them. There's a lot of, stuff out there that's not name brand, like the stand that I have. The table is not like the Zwift or Wahoo brand or whatever's out there. You can find some good alternatives on the cheap. On top of that, just really excited to continue documenting my progress here. My FTP gains, as well as more race results, will be fun to track. I'll post more videos on that in addition to the normal stuff I do, which is usually mountain biking and kind of gravel adventure rides. So anyways, have fun out there, and don't forget to subscribe, and see you in Watopia.